will be your moon, you will be my sky, and I promise I will follow you, oh, until the end of the line. And I will be your flower, if you will be the bee, and I promise I will always give you the sweetest parts of me. 'Cause you're the tip to my top, the key to my lock, you're my breakfast in the morning, you're my up to my down and the king of my crown, and you're everything I want. You got that sweet, sweet, sweet honey, sugar, and I want it sweet, sweet honey. You got that sweet, sweet honey, sugar, and I want it sweet, sweet, sweet honey. So give it to me.
Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. How is everybody doing today? I see a bunch of people in the chat already. Let's say hi. Looney Tunes 9000, good to see you. The Anti-Corporatist, hello. I loved your stream earlier, man. Loved both of them, and great news on the numbers. Those are picking right up. Fantastic. Wicked Foxy Dragon, hello. Say picking right up. Those are starting off strong and getting stronger. I mean, you're killing it, man. Keep it up. Mars Falcon, hello. Light travels faster than sound. That's why some people appear bright until you hear them speak. Wise words. Fair enough. Pinkerbell, I don't know if I said it, but it's worth double checking. Hey there. Good to see you. Where on earth? Domenico, hello, my friend. I saw you responded to your email. Looking forward to hearing from you. Christy Z, hello. Good to see you. We were chatting earlier as well in Anti-Corporatist chat. Salty Saturday. A somewhat casual stream. I think on these I'm going to start just giving my honest opinion on broad and relevant groups of people. But as is standard for WYCD, the average one is classifiable as a weird one, off pattern. This will be one of those. I want to talk about the broad idea for this type of stream and the reason for it, and why I am encouraging you all to get out there. But I'm going to record it. So there's a VOD. Well, WYCD is extraordinarily experimental. It's everything I could ever want to poke around with in the age of the internet. And it comes from an observation really, really reliably before a society falls to fascism. The sign that you will see above all others are hounds barking randomly in the background. Uh-oh. You will see the elites out of touch with the average people. Please stand by. I paused the recording. I gotta go let the hounds do the hounded. they were very excited to go raise hell until they had the opportunity. The problem I note is that throughout history, when the elites have no idea why or how the average people are suffering, that's when things go awry. I also notice most people get their news in this era from a national source. And those are rich people reading you the news, rich people being the editors of your news, rich people taking the ads and telling you how very good those advertisers are. It's the elites. That has left us weak. Not only do we have the growing realization that the richest among us are the villains of this story, but there's a mistrust of the media that has gone hand in hand with it, and it's not wrong. Unfortunately, people, when taken as a group, they're fine with the broad strokes, and they don't understand details very well, and that's where the devil is here, in the details. When there's an understanding that media is not telling the whole story, then the populace, in this case, not just the United States, but look at Canada, look at Turkey, look at Israel. The populace can pick and choose what they think the lies have been, and they tend to default to charismatic conmen. So my answer to that is to have the media not be run by the elite. It's to ape the very same strategies that brought about QAnon and MAGA. People's most trusted news sources becoming social media. I think the thing to do is try to get, instead of a Vosh, instead of a David Pakman, instead of a Hassan Abi, instead of the Young Turks, instead of all these people who are making a fortune as independent media. And don't get me wrong, all those places could, maybe not the Young Turks, but all those places otherwise are just individual streamers' channels. They're wildly successful streamers. I don't think all that's necessary if you want to just make a humble living streaming. I know there's a certain impression of what the life of a streamer is supposed to be, but I'm viewing this in terms of old media. Once upon a time, there was such a thing as a local news station, and that was a viable job. And you could spend your whole career doing the news for about 50,000 people, maybe 100. And you would never really be famous. Maybe in that community you would, but you wouldn't be like a star. You're just a journalist. But you could pay for college, your kid's college. You could pay for a couple of cars, a house, a backyard, dogs, vet bills, food for all. I think that's achievable now. Right here on the internet. I don't think we all have an obligation to go to start up a part-time job as a streamer. But I think if people have an interest in streaming and they have ethics, as in they don't run their mouth about things they don't really know about, unless they're willing to constantly stop and say, for the record, I don't know about this thing. If you have people who have certain levels of expertise that they can pull on, and certain niches in life that they can use as a springboard for content. I think that's the rather boring answer we have for fixing the problem with the media, the problem with people being misinformed constantly, which includes Democrats. It's not nearly as bad as Republicans, but centrist Democrats, how the world works, and you will find some disturbing answers. I literally asked a Democrat, when Israel was founded, why was nobody else living there in that area? What happened to the people that were living there? And their answer was, well, it was a desert. Nobody was living there. The answer to this stuff, the answer to this rather strategic ignorance that we have, I think, is to be responsible content makers and make sure there are many, 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 and most importantly, to have a couple of people pioneer. It doesn't mean revolutionize things. It just means find a reliable way to make money off of a doable crowd. I don't think we should rely entirely on the tip jar, but there are certainly just not trying particularly hard. Let me put it like this. Really not putting a hell of a lot of effort into making money on this thing. Right now, my channel, with a humble 3,600 subs, is generating about $150 to $250 a month. And that's just sort of sitting on my hands and playing with the algorithm and watching what happens. To justify somebody putting in time for this, I don't think that's enough. But I do think that ain't nothing, and that's not too far off of what we might need to hit. So I would like, number one, want to ask you guys for patience, because I'm going to keep doing experimental stuff to see what I think other people could do easily. And thing number two, I'd like you to keep an open mind. If you see something I'm doing and you think you could do it yourself, understand that my door is always open, and I will help you start it up. Case in point, I'm about to do that, not tonight, but I'm about to do that radio stream. If you've got $200, you can essentially start your own radio station. If you've ever wanted to be a disc jockey, cool. I'll literally show you how. Hell, I'll co-host with you for a show or two, and just show you how you're supposed to like switch between songs and the things you're supposed to say. That was X by Y. Next up, we have Blum, requested by whoever. That simple. In between, top of the hour, it becomes 5 o'clock or whatever, you read 15 minutes of headlines, if that's what you want to do. My point with all this, folks, is that I would like to see, by next summer, a wave of people who can reliably get 20 to 30 people to go out and participate in politics somewhere in the world. A wave of people that each carry with them 20 or 30 reliable other people who watch them for entertainment, who were brought into this world maybe because they were interested in facts about big rigs, maybe because they were interested in art, like the New Yorker style cartoons, maybe because they watched a goofy debate show that was trussed up like a wrestling program. one way or another. But I do think that people increasingly are going to turn away from huge media outlets. And I think it won't be the outlets specifically that are the problem. I think it will be the people that are paid very well in those outlets. And I would here's the last thing I'll say on this before we move on to the show proper. I would encourage you. Hello, Benny. You got a good laddie? Would you like to come up, lad? Would you like to come here? Oh, good. You're a fine lad. I would encourage you, if you do make it, if you find that in 6 months you get 100,000 subs and you're off to the races, I would encourage you to find a way to cap the amount of money you make. Harsh as that might seem. But I would say divide up at that point your income and cap how much you actually take home and put the rest towards, if you want it to be towards building your business, fine, have it towards that. But the goal here is not to create more rich people. It's to create many, many ethical human beings relaying information across social media. Give it some thought. I'm going to pet this terrier. And let's see what y'all have to say as well. Tinkerbell, oh my God, what a sweet baby. He is. He is a sweetheart. Bad Lefty, oh, he's gorgeous. I will not read the rest of that. You're correct. Public utility. You want justice? They sent the means of production to China, and anywhere they could. Well, this is actually quite accurate. You want justice? They sent the means of production to China, and anywhere they could exploit the majority to the benefit of the elites. Yes. Let me jump back up. Pinkerbell. There's two ends of the apathy spectrum: people who are struggling so much they are consumed with their own issues, and people comfortable enough that they can ignore the other group. True. And when I talk about the elites, that is essentially the problem. They are apathetic because all human beings, it turns out, will choose to be if they can get away with it. And those that have a heart, rather disappointingly, choose to be misinformed. They choose not to look very hard at the things they suspect are going to be a problem. Case in point, they will do a story about, like, you go to NBC. They got backlash for this recently, but this is an example of the type of thing that would happen all the time. They will do a story about a kid selling lemonade to pay for their cancer treatments. And they will frame it as a wonderful, beautiful thing, and not ask any further questions. Not look into why other countries don't have that problem with a kid needing to start a business to save their own life in this country. And I think, the excuse that I'm sure they tell themselves is, well, other countries aren't as good as the United States. This is the price we pay to be as good as we are. But increasingly, it becomes hard to see what the argument is for the United States being a good place. It's not comfortable to live here. It's an unpleasant place to live, as a matter of fact, the United States. It's dangerous, and you are constantly aware of the danger if you are at all aware of your surroundings. Literally, anytime you're outside in a crowd, you could just be shot. It could be some other right-wing nutjob's day to have a freak out and decide they're going to commit suicide by massacring a bunch of other people. They found Robert Card, by the way. Who predicted he had shot himself in the woods? You were right. It's not a good place to live. We can't send our children to school and trust that they'll come home. It's not a good place to live. But the comfortable people that you talk about, they choose not to think very hard about these things because they are comfortable. And they would not want to give up any part of the formula that makes them so comfortable. It's why I don't think they should be telling us what's true and what's not. Matt Strackbine on the other edge of that sword, with a lot of us each picking up our own version of a low frequency radio signal. Matt Strackbine asked me and just about every other guest for a long time, do you consider yourself a journalist? I think the answer should be yes for everybody, at least as far as it comes to responsibility. Do you consider yourself a journalist? Who knows? But you have the responsibility of a journalist. Do not say something you know to be untrue. Do not say something to be true if you don't know it to be true. It's fine to say I think. It's fine to say I suspect. But be very clear about that. And if you know that people are not taking you at your very specific word, if people are frequently getting the wrong message from what you're saying, then understand that you have an obligation to correct the record. You're not, I mean, it's being an honest and responsible person. That's it. There might be a name for what this kind of media type is in the future. I don't think we have one for it now. You're not required to go do the investigation that a journalist would have to. You can just take other people at their word. Court says this, ABC News says that. But follow those other tenets, along with a vow of poverty, if you please. Or not of poverty, but a vow of not being a rich pig. And you will replace something that badly needs replacing. And again, if you're none of this exists without the audience just enjoying being the audience. So if you don't have any desire to be in front of a camera or a microphone, that's fine. I'm just saying, if you do have a desire, you're in an environment right now where you are needed, and you're hanging out with people right now who will help you make that happen and can advise you in ways that will cut off a very, very long and frustrating amount of startup time. All right, y'all, we have some good news to get to. I know it's Salty Saturday, I know. But there's nothing to be, I can't be salty about this piece of news. And we talked about Israel and Gaza to death. I don't have new information there. If I did, I'd share it. But since I don't, let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy the fact that I don't. And instead enjoy this piece of good news. Well, Foxy's future ex-husband has put out a interesting video, and it is in regards to the gerrymandering that we had to deal with in 2022. The only reason the government shut down and we've dealt with this clown show in the House of Representatives has been because of gerrymandering. 2024 might be even easier than we thought.
This is Democracy Watch. So, Mark, we've got a major victory in Georgia, a state that we've been following closely. For anybody who follows this series, we've always spoken about Georgia. What just happened there?
A big victory in the state of Georgia for democracy, for voters, for voting rights, and for the Voting Rights Act. Federal district court judge, after a full trial, just struck down the congressional map and the state legislative maps and ordered a number of new Black opportunity districts in that state that will really, really change the landscape of what those maps look like for 2024.
Okay, so what are we looking at in terms of Democratic pickup opportunities at both the state level and at the congressional level?
Okay, so at the state level, we're looking at 2 additional Black opportunity districts in the state Senate. In the state legislature, we're looking at 4 or 5, probably 5 new Black opportunity districts there. And at the congressional level, we are talking about an additional Black majority or Black opportunity district at the congressional level, which is a really, really big deal when you look at it against the backdrop of what is happening in the congressional map around the country.
Right. I mean,
how many seats do we need to flip in the House for 2024? Is it 18? We got some work to do, and I don't even think we can count this new Black opportunity district as a guaranteed flip. But man, seems like it's going to be a lot easier. Understand we are only, here I'll be a little salty, we're only in this position to begin with because Republicans cheat. And they have been allowed to cheat. One thing I happen to know they're not going to address in this that I'd like you to think about and pitch to me if you don't mind in this stream. We'll talk about it after the video. What is the punishment for this going forward? Republicans, the criminals that they are, have felt fine with gerrymandering. They don't even care about getting caught, really, because the worst that happens to them, these 2 fellas, Brian Tyler Cohen, a.k.a. future Mr. X Dragon, and Mark Elias. They're not going to talk about this, but they're going to talk about districts that these Republicans gerrymandered, knowing that their decision would be undone, but also knowing that they would get a couple years of an unfair advantage in the House and in running the state of Georgia. And they knew that the only punishment they would suffer is that things would eventually be set right. But for denying people their vote willfully, no punishment. What do they have to fear? All we offer is shame as punishment for that kind of behavior. But these are shameless human beings, creatures, really. There needs to be a punishment for what they have done. If not for this round, it needs to be set in stone going forward. The gerrymandering these folks engage in is turn of last century type stuff. And I think personally, I genuinely think deserving of imprisonment. But others might suggest more merciful options like barring from public office. At a minimum, barring from ever being allowed to participate in the drawing of districts ever again. Lifetime, you're done. You betrayed all of us. You can't be trusted with that job again. Give it some thought. Knock it around. Here's some examples. 1 year in jail. A $500,000 fine. That's my least favorite because rich people will then just do it. Barring from any public office, barring from being able to ever draw districts again. I don't know. Suspension of your driver's license. Give it some thought. Let me know what you think.
Right now, Republicans have a 5-seat majority. I mean, that determines who's going to be the second in line to the presidency. And again, that margin is so slim that when you have seats like this getting created in Georgia, that brings us a pretty long way. Will this be completed in time for 2024 for the election?
Yeah, so the federal judge ordered the state of Georgia to enact a remedial map, or as we saw in Alabama, not enact a remedial map, but they've given a deadline. The court has given a deadline of December 8th and has made clear that this is going to be one way or another done in time for 2024. And one procedural matter that I think people need to understand is this was done after a full trial. So there's no more shenanigans about, like we've seen in Alabama and Louisiana, where the court's like, oh, but this was this kind of hearing and we need another hearing. This was it. This is a final order of the court.
Okay, and well, to that point, like when we are told that there's going to be a new map in place for 2024, is that a guarantee? And I ask because, to the exact point you alluded to, if Alabama showed us anything, it's that Republicans basically won't take no for an answer. They'll try to delay as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, so there's no injunction. There's no preliminary relief in this case. There's no preliminary injunction. This is a final order. So the court opinion ends essentially by saying this case is closed, to put it in plain English, like this is what has to happen. And so the state of Georgia has basically two options. It can comply with the court's order, at which point, it will draw a map and that will be gauged to see whether it meets the order. It can ignore or disregard the court's order, at which point, like in Alabama, we will see the court almost certainly draw its own remedial map, and that will happen very quickly. And then I guess the third possibility is it can appeal. It can appeal this decision to the 11th Circuit, but there really aren't any grounds for it to appeal to the 11th Circuit because this case is really on all fours with the Alabama case that went to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Given how much acrimony we saw from the Republicans in Alabama, is there any indication from Georgia Republicans that they're going to take this thing to the wall fighting?
So we haven't heard yet. We don't know. But I do want to say that for everyone listening out there, the state of Alabama stood with its arms crossed in front of the schoolhouse door, like George Wallace, saying, we're not going to comply with a federal court order. We have heard a lot of rhetoric in the last couple of years about Brad Raffensperger being a different kind of Republican. Brad Raffensperger is the lead defendant in these cases. So is Brad Raffensperger going to appeal this case? Is Brad Raffensperger going to fight this case? Is he going to defy the court's order? Or is he and Chris Carr, the attorney general, and the other defendant, he's not the only defendant in fairness to him, but are these Republicans in Georgia going to, in fact, live up to Brian Kemp, this idea that they are somehow not MAGA Republicans? This is the moment for them to show their color. So I don't.
It's a fair question. I think it's a good question. There's so many Republicans right now who want to get credit for being amongst the rest of us, amongst the law-abiding citizens, amongst the decent human beings who are just trying to make a civilized country to live in. The Liz Cheneys and the Brad Raffenspergers, but these people, back when the villainy was done with manners and a handshake, well, they knifed you in the side. No, I need action. For me to consider these people worth a damn, I need more than just self-preservation wrapped in language about democracy. Yeah, let's see if Brad Raffensperger will keep breaking the spirit of the law. If he fails to, and if anybody, for that matter, attempts to gerrymander, knowingly, Republican or Democrat, I want to see criminal punishment. Do you think that guy that tried to prevent schools from desegregating, do you think he spent any time in jail? I didn't look it up. I'm assuming the answer is no. Tell me if I'm wrong. But you protest a pipeline which will destroy an ecosystem forever so that we can delay the transition from making our cars go vroom one way to another for another year. And you will wind up in a jail cell. You try to stop a pipeline, jail. You try to stop a child from going to school, pat on the back. He's just a good Southern boy. I am out of patience with this filth. I hope you are as well. We should never have been patient with them. And it should not be a viable political strategy to be anti-democracy. If you know of any politician that votes to gerrymander, and by the way, if you live in America, you're surrounded by them, they should be forced to answer for that constantly. The way to make them do that is to contact your local news and insist they keep asking the question. Show up outside their offices and ask them the question every time they try to leave. If they mention that they're going to be in town on their social media, show up where they're going to be. Call them a cheater. Call them a liar. Call them a crook. Call them a con man. They are all these things. Bother them. They ought to be in prison. Prison. They ought to have to sit in a cafeteria and eat whatever the warden decides they are allowed to eat. So don't feel bad if you've made their afternoon mildly unpleasant because they had to talk about the harm they are actively doing. It is salty after all.
No. Okay. We have been following cases in Alabama, Louisiana, and Georgia. Those have been booked together as the 3 Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act cases. Does this round out those Voting Rights Act cases that we've had our eye on now?
It does. We now know we have a new majority or our new Black opportunity district in Alabama. So that's done. Louisiana continues in the death throes of coming to terms with the reality. The trial court there has been pretty clear, but they are still engaged in various procedural mechanisms that we've talked about before. And I always said Georgia was going to probably come before Louisiana because of the way in which this case was postured, which is that the judge here, rather than wanting to do a hearing and issue a preliminary order, said, let's just do the whole thing. Let's just have a trial. Everyone come in with all your witnesses, all your evidence, opening statements, closing statements, all of it. And so Georgia is in some ways ahead of Louisiana. They're all going to be in time for 2024, but but that really rounds out the trio, and the door is really pretty well shut on Republicans in Georgia now.
Okay, to that point, does this decision or this block of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act decisions, will it be able to inform any other perhaps impending lawsuits around the country that could also be brought forward on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act grounds?
Look, I'm proud that my law firm represented plaintiffs in Alabama, Georgia, and Louisiana. And this has been a remarkable good year, and it's rare to say that, for the Voting Rights Act. Between the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Allen v. Milligan and then these cases, the Voting Rights Act has really gained, I think, I think people have gained a lot of confidence that the Voting Rights Act remains a very effective tool in these redistricting cases. That doesn't mean it doesn't need to be fixed by Congress, because there were significant parts of it gutted. But Section 2 is really, protecting Black voters as it was intended. And so I think you're going to see other states that are looked at for Section 2 claims. I don't think we've seen the last of it. Now, the most obvious one is Texas, where there was a Section 2 case brought by my law firm and others that is moving much slower through the process, but could yield, 4 or 5 seats. I mean, it's a bigger 4 or 5 congressional seats. So it's a bigger case that's moving slower, but it would not surprise me, as you see Republican legislatures ignore the law, that you will see other Section 2 cases. I'm not
thrilled by how much he wants to stress that the Texas case is moving slower. I want it done by 2024. I want those new seats by 2024. I hope he is working to get it done. But that said, I haven't done a damn thing. I haven't filed claim 1. So he's doing a hell of a lot more than I am. But I want those by 2024 nonetheless. Inspiring. Good. We're going to have a bunch of new seats just because the lines were drawn fairly. I'm going to try to let them finish their next point.
ready to announce any others, but stay tuned.
And of course, if you do want to hear about any new lawsuits being announced, the first place you can find that is Democracy Docket. So for anybody watching right now, if you're not yet signed up for
Democracy Docket. So the question is, what punishment? If you are found to have engaged in unlawfully drawing districts to benefit a specific political party, as in we have made gerrymandering a criminal punishment, which I think it ought to be, what is, or rather a criminal offense, what is the punishment? Ooh, Looney Tunes, legacy media equals corruption media. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't. That's because I'm not. I haven't scrolled down. Unfriendly atheist. Hello, good to see you. Hey, Michael Skiles. Hello there as well. Let me go see if I have any suggestions here. Rex Track. It should be federal. Yeah. I think that is. I think that makes sense. Like just a general federal law. However, there is a principle then that we wind up butting against, which is states can. It's the way the law is written federally now. States decide for themselves how to draw districts. Oh. So whether we get it passed in the state or the Fed, the rural justice system, the question is, what should the punishment be? I think, personally, imprisonment. At first glance, or at first thought, I think the offense to me is harmful enough to your fellows and requires enough malice, as an intention to harm people by depriving them of their vote, that I think it's the kind of thing, the kind of behavior that needs to be corrected with the trauma we offer in the American prison system. It's rather cold of me, I know, but I think it is a serious enough offense. I do think there are things that should result in imprisonment, and that is, I don't think there's many, but there are things. And that's one of them. One day, if I get softer, I may decide that no, only violent crimes, specifically. But that's not today. I don't know. Wicked House, watching in the VOD. Let me know in the comments. What do you think should be the punishment for gerrymandering if we made it a crime? And should we make it a crime? I'm going to read the rest of these comments from the live audience now. Well, let's go back a little bit. Bad Lefty, drawn and quartered. Unfriendly Atheist, stockade, perhaps. I do like that. The anti-corporatist. How did I miss all these during the recording? Can we just get another dread disease and have all of them refuse to get vaxxed? I mean, a lot of these problems take care of themselves. Christy Z, Texas just passed a law restricting the movement of pregnant women seeking out-of-state abortions. Republicans have completely lost their minds. Yeah, this is always who they've been. I cannot stress enough, MAGA is just an unmasking. And Trump didn't even start the unmasking. The Tea Party did. These people are vile, and they have been a criminal organization basically since the 60s. And our refusal to treat them as such has been to the detriment of generations of all living creatures, frankly, on planet Earth. Donald James X, that's what SCOTUS did anyways, was give states more power to ban abortion. Oof. My dogs are goth. You sound down, Jake. I'm in a weird place. I'm not down, though. I'm relaxed. I'm mildly furious. Mildly furious. But it's like Feldman anger, you know? It's disappointment, I suppose. Disappointment at the problems that we have in front of us. But with the near certainty that we will win. It's just we shouldn't have to. This is not a fight we should have to win. We shouldn't have to, in the United States of Mother America, try to convince our fellows that democracy is a good thing. In 2023, in Canada, we shouldn't have truckers flying Nazi and Confederate flags. We'll win because we are correct. I'm angry that it came to this in the first place. That said, I'm bringing the wrong energy at you because I'm genuinely excited for the potential that the internet offers. I do foresee an unbroken chain of progressives in the near future, representing overlapping niche interests that have progressive politics in common. I see there being a Warhammer stream that focuses on politics as well, coupled with a radio station that focuses on, or that has a show about politics as well, coupled with, that person is friends with another group and so on and so forth. I think this will develop naturally. I just notice it developing, frankly. But I think we should help it. I think we should try to make it happen in time to be effective in 2024. I do think it'll happen just with the setup of social media and the apparent desires and viewing habits of people. I do think it'll happen eventually, regardless. But I think it should be us, and I think it should be faster than it would happen naturally. I'm sorry. The gerrymandering thing, though, just gets me angry. You guys don't need anger. Doesn't help. And so I'll change that. let's move on to something that doesn't make me angry. Let's move on to something that gives me the giggles. I'd like to share those with you. Sorry, now I'm thinking about it. Let's just do the next segment. Hey, gang. How do you know how someone's feeling? There's an accidental theme to this stream. It's apparently the internet. I couldn't tell you how Richard Nixon was feeling on the night before he left office. Not through his own personal account. I could only pull up some ex-staffer's biography and get a second-hand account. But right now, hell, maybe I could get Richard Nixon's account. I don't really care, though. My point is, right now, I know how Donald Trump is feeling. Because this idiot started a social media account. No, not an account. He started a social media company just so he could get himself into more trouble. Here he is getting himself into a tremendous amount of trouble. Well, here's what he wrote this very morning. My daughter Ivanka was released from this fake Letitia James case by the Court of Appeals, but this Trump-hating, he just capitalizes anything. He just capitalizes when he feels like it, you know. Unhinged judge who ruled me guilty before this witch hunt trial even started, so he's at least able to acknowledge that he is guilty. He's been found guilty already because of the overwhelming evidence, and now they're just parsing the details. Okay. Who ruled me guilty before this witch hunt trial even started, couldn't care less about the fact that he was overturned. I also won on appeal on statute of limitations, but he refuses to accept their decision. I truly believe he is crazy, but certainly at a minimum crazed in his hatred of me. This case should have never started, but now must be dismissed. Financial statements were low, not high. Had it went up, blah, 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 blah. And he just goes on and on and on. That's all his response. And just take a moment to appreciate how fucking wild this is. That's all his response to the judge deciding that regardless of whether or not Miss Trump should be included in the charges, it doesn't change the fact that she had the knowledge she has, and she must share that with the court. Not you not being charged with a bank robbery doesn't mean you get to hide evidence for the bank robbers. If you have evidence and the police know you have that evidence and they say that evidence is part of our investigation, hand it over, please. In basically all situations, you then have to hand it over. That is what is happening here. During his rant, he insulted the judge, called him an out-of-control nut job, called the trial a witch hunt, called the judge unhinged. He called either Letitia James fake or the case fake. I don't know what is a fake case? How do you have a fake Letitia James? I've seen her. She's a tangible human being. The case is real with real consequences. I don't know what he means. Oh, that's post number 1. We got a second post by the same dingbat. Folks, I have been enjoying Truth Social quite a bit lately. What is the phrase the kids are using? All the truthers are big mad. Truth details. Ah, yes. This he goes on, busting the chumps, the judge's hump. This grossly incompetent. He called the person who will decide his fate very soon unhinged. What did he say? Whack job? Grossly incompetent. Let me just look for another thing that he calls the judge in here. A partisan political hack. This is the judge presiding over the case right now. If I've seemed like the cat that caught the canary in recent months, it is because this is the most predictable behavior ever. Ever. All we needed in terms of pressuring the DOJ was to make sure they were going to get Trump in court. I will, for the rest of my days, be grateful to you guys because I believe you had a hand in this actually coming to be. In fact, we have evidence that this would not have happened without the people of the world taking note that Trump was being allowed to get away with just a ridiculous crime spree. But once he was in court, incidentally, I think as a matter of ethics, it's no longer for us to push for this or that. But also we don't have to because this idiot is the kind of person who calls the judge, who holds in his hands Trump's fate, names. He's poking the bear over and over and over and over. And, you know, I don't know the law well enough to give you a breakdown of the specifics, but I know getting in trouble well enough to know that any case, anything that has you in a courthouse, even if you're the plaintiff, has the potential to put you in a jail cell. Yes, even if you're the plaintiff, if you say that person ran over my foot with their car and I want foot fixing money from them, you can behave in such a way that gets you tossed into a jail cell. You start ranting and raving, you start throwing things, you start behaving on the record in a court of law bad enough, your ass can wind up in jail. Now, these judges are amongst the same elites that the media we were talking about in the first bit are. They really don't like going after who they consider to be their own. If you've been on TV regularly, or you own a yacht, or you're uncomfortable around black people, you're one of their own. However, a great way to make them not so sympathetic is to insult them. I can also tell you from experience, judges really don't like to be insulted. They do not like to be disrespected, particularly by somebody who they're about to judge. They don't like their authority to be questioned, essentially pissed on like this. I don't believe Trump is going to make it to his trial anymore as a free man. I mean, as like a literally free to walk where he pleases human being. I think he will be in a cell until his trial, and I think it's going to happen soon. Let me just read through this whole thing. The grossly incompetent judge, who is overturned on appeal more than almost any judge in New York State, is a partisan political hack who totally disregards the Court of Appeals' decisions against him and won't allow a jury to get anywhere near my case. Why is it in caps? Why is it in caps? There's going to be so many questions our grandchildren have for us that we just won't be able to answer. Why did this guy put case in quotes and all caps? What was he trying to say? Nothing. Why didn't anybody mention that? We did, and it apparently it didn't matter. Brought by a failed Trump-hating racist attorney general named Letitia James. Hey, I wonder why do you think he keeps calling her racist? What's he saying there? What makes her racist? Whose entire campaign for office was, I will get Trump. Yeah, I will get this person who famously appears to have broken the law. She then used this charade to run for governor and lost badly. I wish the hell she won. I don't like the New York governor. Isn't it Kathy Hochul? Ugh. The New York state legal system has broken down completely, and everybody who is watching this witch hunt, why capitalized, so agrees. Not accurate. I do not agree. Hopefully that will soon change. He doesn't understand structure. This crazed judge ruled against me before the trial even started and said Mar-a-Lago is worth only $18 million. Yeah, the tax man was told that. Other properties, likewise. This is Biden election interference. This is a Biden election interference scam. There were no crimes and no victims. Funny. He does not think that effing with the value of property has any victims. Watch The Big Short. It has victims. It is everybody who owns or will ever attempt to own property. And there is no jury allowed. That is because Trump went through so many attorneys that he was left with Alina Habba, whatever the hell. And she was not bright enough to check the box on the form for the trial where you request a jury. She could have. That's how you request a jury, apparently. Lawyers are supposed to know that, but she didn't. This radical Trump hater must be taken off this case. He's so screwed. He may wind up, as I say, he may wind up in prison, in jail before the sentencing in his first trial. He may wind up in jail from a civil trial. Can you imagine how dumb you have to be to have theoretically $1 billion at your disposal? You're in a civil trial, so all you have to worry about is money. And with your $1 billion, the money you have to worry about is irrelevant, basically. And you manage to get yourself thrown in a cell anyway, because you're such an asshole. You're just such an asshole that you give the judge literally no other choice, because they have to maintain order in their court. I mean, that's sort of the place where you need order at a minimum. You can have chaos everywhere else as long as in the court, where we decide whether or not a law was broken, there is order. Good. We always knew this would be his kryptonite. I'm glad to discover that everybody that suspected he was going to be screwed as soon as he stepped into court was correct. I'm not surprised that his weekend posts are where he's bravest. Let's hope that come Monday, the judge says, all right, That's enough of that. We're setting a little meet cute for this week. You're going to explain yourself. You will fail to satisfy me, at which point I'm going to begin. I'm going to give you your 39th warning. But after that warning, I might treat you like I would have treated anybody else at the beginning of the trial. I look forward to that. Ooh, mercy me. Ah ha ha, live chat. There it is. BCat and K, many talking to public utility, many competent psychopaths run this country via their corporations. Yes. Yeah. Bad Lefty, when he's all pepped up at the weekend, his legal team should lock him in a room with 0 devices. I've honestly thought about, like, what if I needed Trump for something? Like, what if I needed him to stay out of prison? How would I do it? Like, you just inspired another segment. We're going to start recording. So how would you, let's do a group conversation, bring the energy up just a little bit. How would you how would you keep Trump out of prison? If you're tasked with, just for whatever reason, you got a Brewster's Millions going on, a challenge that you must fulfill, a genie wish, doesn't matter. You have to keep Trump out of prison. How do you do it? Here's what I would do. I would put his phone on airplane mode without his knowledge, and just tell him he's posting to things. Or maybe I would, I don't know. I'd have to try to think of a way that I could intercept his messages and just delete them. So he thought they were going somewhere, but they weren't going anywhere. Like Creed Bratton's blog on The Office. How would you keep him out of prison? Lock him in a room and take away his phones on the weekends? I mean, at this point, it is actually, it would be like a challenge. Like, how do you get a camel through the eye of the needle? I don't know how you could do it. Public utility, appeal. Yeah, I mean, but there's only so much you can do. You know, if he goes out and says, like, that's it, kill the witnesses. Like, there's almost nothing that that can prevent him from being held for everybody else's safety. BCat and K, the MAGA chuds are a replacement for the love his father never gave him. Wow. Yes, I think you're correct. I do think Fred Trump was genuinely an abusive SOB. Bad Lefty, LOL, you joke, but oh wait, maybe that was in response to Tinkerbell. It feels like something a lawyer could write up a clause about, retaining custody of his phone for the duration. Oh my God. Please, no, Gulf Coast Grit. At what you can do, I'd build an entire fake life for him, the same as the Truman Show, and let him live that, convinced he's doing his same old Yeah, I bet you could build a convincing Oval Office and be like, good news, the storm happened, Mr. President. Get in there, go F up the world. And then just every day bring him fake reports like, Putin says you're great, so does all the other scumbags you hate, you love. Oh, Jeffrey's alive again, and he says he'll never say that thing you did. Bad Lefty, I mean, if he said, get the witnesses, his deranged fans 100% would. Yeah, they would. Michael Skiles, if you're in prison, you can't profit off your legal issues, right? I don't know. I bet you could. Mike Stead Show, 26 Secret Service phones are missing from January 6th. God damn it. We do need, I believe, that we should prioritize we should prioritize certain people when it comes to January 6th. There's an order of operations to consider for sure, but we must not forget anybody. The people at the Secret Service who deleted the messages from January 6th, that needs to be dealt with by the FBI. Whatever statute of limitations is a factor, I'll look into. But that is unacceptable. But to that note, things we would do to keep Trump out of prison if we had to. Let me know in the comments, and I will possibly do a follow-up video with the best of. My favorite so far is the Truman Show idea. If you, due to a genie's wish, had to keep Trump out of prison, I think the best way to do it would be to simply Truman Show it, and tell him everything's going great, and Ivanka still loves you, and she circled maybe on the note, so there's hope there too. Such a jackass. Oh, God. It will be impossible to describe what a buffoon this person was and how dangerous it was. The anti-corporatists, oh geez, we're not even to the 470 yet. Bad Lefty, I know people that came home as millionaires after getting years as a broke young man. No further. Oh, sorry. Withdrawn. Soul Life, they were going to do data recovery on the Secret Service phones, and it was struck down. You know what? That might be a more urgent matter than I realized when I started talking about it. There is a state. We almost came into... Do you guys remember when I did that stream about all of Trump's crimes? I did 2 of those motherfuckers. All of Trump's crimes, and we were going over the statute of limitations. We just barely got some of this stuff in on time. We might be coming up against that with the Secret Service as well. The Mike's Dead Show, the acting head of the DHS and the assistant secretaries of the Army can find their phones. Yeah, I would hope so. Interesting. Are you all right, laddie? Bad Lefty, and with Donnie, it's got to be easier than with a brighter person. Yeah. Hello, Snixabia. Oh, Looney Tunes 9000. After reading those 2 Trump lie social posts, I almost cracked my voice doing my Trump impression. I want to hear your Trump impression. If we ever do a call-in show, just call in as Trump. You don't have to have anything hilarious to say. I just want to hear what it sounds like. I do not have a Trump impression. I can do almost every president but Trump. Because there's no love in it. As much as I hate George W. Bush, like I could at least take a joy in making fun of him. I just don't take joy in Trump at all. And I don't know why. I don't know why I could. No, I do know why. It's because when I learned to do a George W. Bush impression, I didn't understand enough to hate him. Michael Skiles, if you're in prison... Oh, yeah, we talked about that. Bad Lefty... Oh, no, we did... Oh, because I scrolled up. Jackson White's impression of Trump sounds like Casey Kasem. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That is such a good comparison. That is exactly what it sounds like. I meant to say they can't, says the Mike's Dead Show. Okay. Oh... Wireless Mike, the SNL guy, does a great Trump. Yeah. Oh. Ban Soul Life. Oh, no. Oh. Add to his list of infamy. I'm tempted just to fuck with you, man, but no. You're a good egg as far as I've seen, and I'm sorry that you got kicked out of the majority report. That just happens, man. Wanda MV. Oh, hey, Wanda. I think Trump is trying to get himself a short overnight stay in the slammer, and fundraising will increase from his cult. That's a good point. I'm going to read that again. Wanda MV says, I think Trump is trying to get himself a short overnight stay in the slammer, and fundraising will increase from his cult. I agree. I honestly think Trump is trying to get some dramatic moment to happen that he can rally people behind. I think he's possibly even infatuated with the idea of spending like a very small amount of time in jail. I don't think he actually walked by one of the cells. I think he's going to have a genuine panic attack soon. I think he might die of a heart attack before he actually has to serve any time. I know there's people of the belief that he will never get anything but house arrest, but we don't know. And when we're talking about what he's trying to do, I do think he is trying to goad, like going out of his way to goad the court system. To that end, I wanted to talk, just using that as a jumping off point, I wanted to talk about Matt Gaetz. I think there's something similar going on with Matt Gaetz. I've been racking my brain, trying to figure out what the political strategy is for this guy. Let's be frank. The only thing keeping him out of prison on some real effed up charges, from what I can tell, accurate charges as well, is the fact that he is amongst the ruling class currently. But his fellows are turning on him. They're sick of him. There's all these FBI people that are kicking themselves like, oh, why did we give him a pass? If only we would have known that he was a bad guy. We wouldn't have hidden all of this evidence. we wouldn't have refused to act on all of this evidence of him sex trafficking a little girl. Not a little girl, but a 17-year-old girl. Child. If only we would have known he was bad. If only we would have known he was a villain. But he's still goading. And he knew that. He knew how close that was. He knew that his pal, Joel Greenberg, who participated in all these things right alongside him, is going to do some time. So what is he doing is my question with Matt Gaetz. What's he hoping to accomplish with all this? Okay, let's say he genuinely has a problem with McCarthy. He genuinely doesn't like McCarthy, and all this was just a personal beef. Well, is he dumb enough to go to prison over his hatred of McCarthy? I don't think so. I think Matt Gaetz is just like a regular guy in terms of intelligence. Not particularly bright, not particularly dumb. I had a worrying thought. I think Matt Gaetz has only one plan. Wreck America as much as he can ahead of 2024 on the hopes that Joe Biden loses the election, Donald Trump wins, and Donald Trump undoes the rule of law. If Gaetz makes it to 2025 without being in prison and Donald Trump is in power, Matt Gaetz will never go to prison. Matt Gaetz will utterly escape justice. I genuinely think that's what his plan is. You can watch him learning more about politics through clips of him participating in the House of Representatives. You can watch him learning when he's supposed to physically be there and what he's supposed to be doing while he's there. You can watch him learning why they're, like, the practical reason why they have offices in that building. You can watch him finally understanding why these politicians talk in the cagey way they do during news interviews, why they pick the delicate words that they use, and so on and so forth. And he's learned. And he gets it now. He understands what Republicans are supposed to be doing there. Nothing. They're supposed to be making sure nothing gets done. And he understands the Republican line. Screw up the country as much as you can, and then say the line, it's the Democrats' fault. Look at how terrible things are. These darn Democrats. We gutted funding for Social Security. We put a cap on the amount of income that can be taxed for Social Security. Oh, these Democrats don't want to talk about how we have to get rid of Social Security. We can't afford it. He wants to do that to Joe Biden. He's not ready to give up on fascism because he knows he cannot exist. He's too loathsome of a creature to exist in any other environment in the public eye. He is an absolute wretch, and you should be on the lookout for him and the rest of the MAGA crowd. They are all making the same bet. They want to be your lords and masters. They do not want to be your public servant. Oh, mercy me, I got another one here for you. But first, I would like to read some comments. But also, I do want to set this up so it's got a little flow to it. Oh, gang. That's not too bad. So, a little bit of housekeeping as I set this up. Between now and Monday night, I'm going to be very difficult to reach. The reason being, I'm going to be desperately trying to finish Fight Night Animated. Holy shit, did I enjoy making that. And I will certainly try to do another one day. But the actual cartoon is well beyond my level of editing knowledge. So it's every next thing I try to do requires me to go watch 8 or 9 YouTube tutorials until I understand it. But I want to get it finished, and I want to premiere it on Halloween. I think that's how I want to celebrate Halloween with y'all this year. So if you guys are looking for something to do Halloween night, you're feeling like you want to enjoy the spooky season, Fight Night Animated. Actually, let's read some comments. Oh, it looks like Tinkerbell had some gold. My dogs are goth. Republicans in Colorado want to replace Lauren Boebert. That cheered me up. It just cheered me up, too. Tinkerbell, good. She's a trash fire and an embarrassment. Yes, she is a trash fire. Donald James, that's why the power of pardon is empowering and enabling these crazy GOP people to break the law. The power of pardon. Yeah, that's something I think we could and should push Joe Biden on. I don't want the president to have the ability to pardon people. I don't want any one person to have that ability. I think that's insane. The anti-corporatist Matt Gaetz will never go to prison. Why would he? Well, for sex trafficking a child. The amount of crimes he had to have committed for just that one act, he can be pursued just based on the sheer number of crimes he did. That was a crime spree. Just that one vacation he took where he hired a 17-year-old prostitute. It was a crime spree. And he also appears to have been involved in January 6th. I mean, he's a criminal through and through. I believe he can and should be put in prison, and it will require pressure from us. I hope you'll join me when the time comes. But order of operations. We got to deal with the organizers of this thing first and foremost. Looney Tunes 9000. But what if all that doesn't happen? What, the Trump being put in power again? I think he goes to prison. B-Cat and K. Wanda, his dad is well connected. Matt Gaetz. Yeah, Matt Gaetz' dad is was a Florida state senator who is, I believe, running again and is a millionaire. And I think nonetheless, I don't think that'll protect him. I'll do a whole Matt Gaetz show. I feel like I haven't explained at least my feelings on him in detail. Because I say a lot of things as though they are granted without having explained the background on it. He is probably the most universally loathsome person in office right now. As in, like, by every measure of morality, anybody's morality. I mean, he is a kitty diddler. He's a human trafficking person. I don't know what you call him. Somebody who did that. He's a corrupt politician at the state level and the federal level. He's a traitor to the country. I mean, it just goes on and on. The anti-corporatist, yeah, that girl became a porn star, and the other witness, his buddy Greenberg, is also a bad witness. The U.S. attorney already told him he's not getting prosecuted. Oh, yeah, I reported on that. Good news, though, they're reconsidering. Better news, in my opinion, the actual reason he was not pursued is now gone. The protections he had was from his Republican pals. You remember what happened to Madison Cawthorn? Oh, he was riding high, untouchable, able to say all the worst things, able to be a stochastic terrorist until he pissed off his own side, and then he was gone like that. Pinkerbell, a human trafficker, yes. Soul Life, I see you, Bad Lefty. All right, where's Bad Lefty? Oh, we said hi to Bad Lefty. Oh. The anti-corporatist, he doesn't take corporate PAC money. No, he does not. We've talked about that, though. I mean, he doesn't because he couldn't. He was so loathsome in the beginning that nobody would give him the money. So he wisely turned it into a benefit and said, I refuse to take this money nobody's offering. But we can work with him because of that. Doesn't mean we're going to stop trying to put him in prison. It's a dirty game. B-Cat and K, Donald, a real enemies to lovers, rom-com. Okay, fair enough. Public utility, Florida was developed by gangsters. Interesting. The anti-corporatist, I hadn't heard that they were reconsidering charging him. There are probably statute of limitations issues, though. Yes, I think you're right. Wireless Mike, I just posted a link in the Friday Peace Talks spreadsheet that made me happy when I watched it. I'm going to post another shortly. All right, I'll check those out after this. I got one queued up right now. Pinkerbell, those pics of Cawthorn in a bra showed up fast. Yeah. Bad Lefty. Yeah, Giselle, I'm never going on a date with you. Oh, God. All right, so I'm going to fire up. What the hell? I'm going to fire up this next segment because it also made me happy. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, it is Salty Saturday, and I'm most salty, I think, at the traders. You know, the people who got voted into office and then tried to end people's ability to vote. That's who I'm saltiest at. Great news. Effing cable news is openly talking about it now. Former Republicans are openly talking about how gross and terrible their party is and has always been. I am going to be insufferable. I just want to warn you ahead of time. Your old pal Jake is going to be just the worst in about a year. Because I fucking called it. I want to say it again, though. Republican Party is likely, in my opinion, to go away. Democrats will become the new conservatives, even if they end up with another party name. And we are going to become the new representatives of the left, no longer having to share our space with, frankly, conservatives like Chuck Schumer. Here's somebody else who appears to be arriving at that opinion.
Has spent the majority of his decades-long career getting Republicans elected to political office. But his latest book is a warning to the country, not just about the current state of the GOP, but what he says is its threat to American democracy. I spoke with Stewart earlier today about that book, The Conspiracy to End America: 5 Ways My Old Party is Driving Our Democracy Towards Autocracy. Stewart Stevens, welcome to the NewsHour. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So in your book, you lay out 5 driving forces on the right that you say are working in concert basically to end our democracy. You list them as propagandists, the support of a major party, financiers, legal theories to legitimize actions, and shock troops. But I want to begin with this idea of support of a major party, because you draw a pretty alarming comparison. In the book, you write, what happened within the Republican Party in 2016 was a repeat of the rise of National Socialism in the 1920s and 1930s in Germany. You're arguing that the Republican establishment's acceptance of Mr. Trump echoed the German establishment's acceptance of Hitler. What are the parallels you're talking about here?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. For a long time, there was sort of a trope that anytime you compared anything to 1930s Germany or World War II, it reduced it to, sort of absurdity. But I take a very different view, because I think the parallels are striking. What happened in Germany was that the ruling class, mostly Prussian aristocrats, realized that they had lost touch with the working class. And they thought that they could control Hitler, that he would be someone who could connect them to the working class and take them into power. And it's really exactly what happened with the Republican Party. Mitch McConnell said that he was confident that Trump would change, that they would change Trump, that they were the mainstream conservative and Trump would adapt to that. And it just proved to be incredibly naive, and it's still playing out. And every chance the party has to turn.
Wait a minute. I'm just imagining. Imagine like the 1940s black and white Hitler footage, the Reich and all that stuff. And then just pan out, or just like, or not pan out, but pull out, and camera moves to the side, and you see like 2 German newscasters. Well, I think we can agree. This is the day Hitler became president. I don't know about you, but mein Führer looked very presidential up there when he was ranting and raving about the Jews. Yeah, I think this guy's assessment is pretty good. That's essentially what we had with Trump.
Against Trump, they go in the other direction, and they embrace him more.
There are some along the way who've rung the alarm, so to speak. That like Mitt Romney, for example, whose campaign you ran in 2012. He criticized Donald Trump, but then he later considered joining his cabinet. So you can't really argue that some folks didn't see the danger. Is the story here that they just chose to ignore it?
It's a fascinating question, because it is very difficult to find anyone in the Republican Party who will say in private that Donald Trump was a great leader, that Donald Trump is someone that they admire on any sort of personal level, and yet they basically turned over the party to him. And I think that what happened here was that Donald Trump, in some sort of animal instinct, realized that the Republican Party ultimately did not believe in all the things that we had said that we believed. What we said were values turned out to be marketing slogans. And that he realized that if he could give the party power, the party would go along with whatever he wanted. And that literally is what's happened now. And it's extraordinary. I don't think we've seen anything like this in American history, just a complete collapse of a party. But it's the reality. It's the world that we live in, and it's not going to change. He's probably going to be the nominee, and there's a good chance he'll be reelected president.
You do talk about the impact of money in the chapter on the...
I mean, this guy really let him have it. I think this guy wrote the book that he wrote because he understands there is no future for the Republican Party. Don't think for a minute. Good girl. Don't think for a minute that this guy does anything out of a sense of decency. He worked on Mitt Romney's campaign. He was willing to let homosexuals be treated as second-class citizens, even though there is no good reason for it, even though there was no study that said, this'll help. But he was willing to let that happen for his own benefit, his own little political benefit. Oh, the guy that I want to be president will be president. Then I'll get a pat on the back, get a big paycheck, and a bunch of people's lives will be ruined. Hooray! He's a villain, this motherfucker. However, he knows there is no future, or at least he believes there is no future for the Republicans. He said so in this interview, and he's doing the kind of talking I love it when a Republican turns on the party, because you get to hear what they wish we were saying all the time. How weird is it that he just came out and said, yeah, they didn't actually believe any of what they said they believed. Turns out all those things that they said were beliefs were just slogans. Yeah, you and I have been operating under that assumption because that is what the situation has been very clearly. But these motherfuckers cosplay as though the Republicans are an actual political party. It's wild to me. It's absolutely wild to me that we are in these times. But yeah, there's a guy that worked with Romney just admitting this party is being destroyed right now. It's going away right now. It's evaporating. And it was always a scam.
People who finance candidates like this, big money donors who you say are complicit in helping to destroy democracy. Why isn't there any kind of effort to get those big money donors off the sidelines to coalesce around another candidate that could potentially beat Mr. Trump if Republicans don't want him to be their candidate?
Yeah, I think this is a case in the primary where money's really not going to matter. Tim Scott supposedly, had backings of wealthy individuals who are going to put unlimited money in it. And it really didn't matter. There's not a market in the Republican Party of any size that is anti-Trump. This is the thing that is difficult for a lot of us to grasp. The Republican Party wants to be what Donald Trump has turned it into, or where Donald Trump has led it. The party is what there's nobody forcing them to support Donald Trump. They don't have to. Trump has made it acceptable to embrace your worst self. And once that becomes acceptable, it's very easy. It's, I think, sort of addictive. And now that's where the party is. It's become a grievance party, and primarily a white grievance party.
Stu, what about when you look at what's happening among House Republicans right now, their inability to elect a speaker? Is that dysfunction at all related to any of this, or is that separate and apart?
I think it's completely related to it. You know, at the core, there really is no governing principles to the Republican Party. I mean, what does it mean to be an American conservative today? I worked in the party for 30 years. I have no idea. And so when you lack that ability to unite a party over a higher purpose, you end up in these sort of Lord of the Flies.
I'll be back in just a moment, but I may pause this recording at an awkward time.
Battles that they're in now. So, you know, no one can stand up there and say to the Republican caucus, look, it's really important that X person be speaker because we have important business to do. There's just nothing there that anybody can point to and say, this is what the Republican Party stands for with any credibility.
Well, the book is The Conspiracy to End America: 5 Ways My Old Party is Driving Our Democracy Towards Autocracy. The author is Stuart Stevens. Stu, thank you for joining us. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Folks, you'll have to forgive me. I have closing thoughts, but I need to go assist a dog. So here is Sweet Honey by, I don't have the thing up. I'm going to play a song. I'll be right back.
I will be your moon, you will be my sky, and I promise I will follow you until the end of the line. And I will be your flower if you will be the bee. And I promise I will always give you the sweetest parts of me. 'Cause you're the tip to my top, the key to my lock, you're my breakfast in the morning, you're my up to my down and the king of my crown, and you're everything I want. You got that sweet, sweet, sweet honey, sugar, and I want it sweet, sweet honey. You got that sweet, sweet honey, sugar, and I want it sweet, sweet, sweet honey. So give it to me. You got that sweet, sweet honey, and I want it sweet, sweet honey. You got that sweet, sweet, sweet honey, and I want it sweet, sweet, sweet honey. So give it to me. You're my up to my down and the king of my crown, and you're everything I want. You got that sweet honey.
I do apologize. Excuse me, Benny Lad. Ooch. Oh, there's an angel. Oh. And... well, hopefully autofocus will kick in. Actually, I can do that. Oh, good. Thank you for putting up with that. Closing thoughts. Oh, I'm angel. Closing thoughts. It's a Republican. A Romney Republican. Admitting that the party never had principles. They are just slogans. The current party is dissolving, and he does not know where modern conservatives can go. I can think of a place, but I instead of saying where they should go, I will say where I think they will go, and that's to the Democratic Party. I think we've already started seeing the return of people identifying as conservative Democrats. Look, these are just people that want to vote for cruel stuff because they've been convinced that, they follow politics very casually, and they've been convinced that the cruelest things are the most financially beneficial. They want to vote for cruel stuff, but they don't want to look like clowns. All Republicans had was the impression that they gave off. Because of Reagan, people thought Republicans are really good with money, I guess. They don't have that anymore. All that they have left in the age of information is what they started with in the 60s. They are the party of hatred, grievance, of psychopaths. Nobody wants to be associated with them. Nobody who wants to be taken seriously wants to be associated with them. And I don't blame them. Public utility. U.S. citizens were deported to Mexico and their property stolen during the Dust Bowl era. Not the first time. Sorry about the break in the middle of all that. When nature calls. Speaking of, yeah, goodbye. I shall again be right back. Never mind. Excuse me, Benny Lad. Excuse me. I'm going to wiggle in here. There you go. Oh, good boy. Good boy. I'm being a nanny for quite a few beasts this evening, including a gal who needs a little help getting up and down, and a very needy, that's unfair, a very cuddly Jack Russell Terrier. Mars Falcon, helping Israel is bad because they oppress the Palestinians, or Israel bad because they're Jewish. Same problem ID, way different reasons why. Fair enough. Bad Lefty. That's a true badge of honor talking about Soul Life. Soul Life. I got banned from Blaze TV for making fun of Uncle Tim. Glenn Beck loves that motherfucker. Oh my God. That is a badge of honor, Soul Life. Well done. Tinkerbell. I love this song. Oh, fantastic. I'm going to try to make a pared down playlist on audio so you guys can pick through them when we do that radio thing. Public utility. Money can be tracked to predict election outcomes within plus or minus 10 million. That's fascinating. Let's scroll way back up. Ooh, we got an idea for my dogs are goth. Lay your crystals outside to recharge. Okay, fair enough. Snixabia, I kind of want to go uptown and see some people costumes. Interesting. I only have Rextrek, I only have 20 years left on this rock. I don't want to spend it in hateful, racist, Republican dystopia hellscape. Voting blue, hell yeah. Oh, mercy me. It's a full moon. Evolve your teddy bears in Pokemon Go, says Snixabia. Fantastic. Yes, and to all the werewolves out there, let me just say, woo. Werewolves of London. Christy Z, obsessed pink. Oh, never mind. I put out water to infuse it with the power of the full moon. I dig that. It sounds cool. Bad lefty. LOL. Jake checks for someone behind him. Oh God. Yeah, Mars Falcon. Biden's so bad, I don't know if I want to vote for him. Weimar leftist. Yeah, that is, if nothing else is gained from my channel, that is what I would like to be taken, I suppose. The idea that the presidency, well, it is probably the most important. Well, it is, in fact. It's the most important political office. One president is not more important than the House, like the entirety of the House or the Senate. If you have control of the House, I honestly think that is more important than the presidency. Like, if I had to pick, do we get a president without Supreme Court picks in the mix? Do we get a president or do we get control of the House? Do we get a president or do we get control of the Senate? I think the House and the Senate are more important, simply because they pass the bills. Yeah, you can do a lot with executive orders, but the country, at the end of the day, is not run on executive orders. The more boring, win by inches House and Senate are, just in terms of what laws do we live under, those are more important. Now, when you factor in the last couple of presidencies, less so. I mean, the situation was reversed. Then it was more important because the president was going to be responsible for choosing Supreme Court justices, which are lifetime appointments. That very much changes the math. But, like, now, not really. The president is the chief diplomat. The president sets foreign policy to a large degree, and all that stuff matters. But at the end of the day, the laws are made in the House and the Senate. And that's sort of, without that, nothing else that we're talking about matters. It's just jerking off, basically, which has been U.S. politics for many years. But yeah, I like, as long as you have a person who is at least saying they are in the same party as us, fine. As a president, fine. I would love a true progressive president, but the world in which we get one is one in which we have already solved the problems that a progressive president would have solved. You know, we already need to get people used to how progressive laws can be good. Progressive regulations are fantastic. We have to build a political movement that gets people put in the House and the Senate. And by the time we get to a genuine progressive president, we'll have won already. So, and that son of a bitch will get to they'll get to be the figurehead of that victory. And it will be called their victory, most likely. And probably we will be the OGs that nobody gets why we hate this person that agrees with us on everything. But that's how I think it is going to go. But more to the earlier point, the video from earlier. It seems to be the idea that the Republican Party is ending seems to be spreading. I want to know what you honestly think. Y'all know I love when you disagree with me if you genuinely if you disagree with me and you're making a point, I want to hear it. I want to challenge my own thinking. Do you guys agree? If so, what signs have you seen? Do you disagree? If so, why? Is the Republican Party going away? What will happen to the people that consider themselves Republicans now? If you think they are all QAnon-believing nutter butters, to borrow a phrase from Owen Morgan, you're discounting many millions of people. And I'm not making a point about being nice or mean. I'm just making a point about strategy. You will have factors that you're not accounting for affecting your life. So what will happen if you think that the Republican Party is going away? If the gig is up, what will happen to the refugees? Will they form their own party, or will they hang out with their friends like they always have and just call themselves Democrats? And then, does that mean we're going to pick up a bunch of seats randomly? Like, let's say 2024, and please put your answers in the comments if you got them. Do you think the Republican Party is going away or not, and what's your reasoning? But let's say in the theory that it does go away. 2024 is brutal, and the Republicans lose the House, they lose the Senate by a wide margin. They actually try to run Donald Trump from prison, and it's the worst case scenario. He gets just annihilated by Biden. And the collapse starts happening. Does the collapse, what does that look like? Is that just people suddenly saying, yeah, I'm Democrat, and the percentage of Dems in Congress grows and grows and grows, even though the votes don't change all that much? I'm genuinely curious. Also, what incident will they pretend is the incident? What I think will happen, 2024 will be a massive embarrassment for this party. I don't think it'll be as I just illustrated there, but I do think they're going to lose the House and the Senate, because I think you and I are going to make sure they do. After that happens, though, I think they're going to wait about 5 minutes, and then Trump will say or do, one of the many terrible things he has said or done. It'll be no different than the 1,000 other times they should have turned on him, but that'll be the excuse they use. They'll say, that's too far. I stood by him for all the rest, but that's too far. Oh, that made me just re-examine everything else I've been supporting, and it turns out Trump is a villain? He was lying? Early 2025. Let's find out. What do you guys think? Let me jump in here. Public utility. I'm last 2 minutes, fourth quarter. My first great-grandchild turned 1 in August. Congratulations, public utility. That's rad. An actual cloud says GOP won't go away. The human experiment has failed. Hopefully another planet out there does better. Yeah, here's hoping for Alpha Centauri. I would, let's see, Wanda MV. I won't ask what, oh, never mind. That's not directed at me. Looney Tunes 9000, it's going away because it's full of old idiots that have kissed Trump's ass. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. Public utility, the fight for justice is eternal. Literally thousands of years. Yes. Yeah. Oh, and ads have been inserted. Well, it looks like we don't have a lot of Republican or it looks like we don't have a lot of Republican or Democrat what am I saying? It looks like I was looking at another comment. I can't talk and read at the same time. It looks like we don't have a lot of ventured guesses for whether or not the GOP will go away or the Republican Party will go away. C'est la vie. You're not obligated to. But I am going to attempt to pull up. Mike, I'm going to try just one of the videos you put in there, because you can't see it, but there's now a dog on the foot as well as a dog on the lap, and a hound behind me, and a hound panting somewhere in an unidentified location. Ooh, I saw this Christopher Titus thing earlier. And I think I saw this MTG thing. I did. Oh, it's a good one. Let me think for a second. You know, I like the Titus one, but if I remember correctly, he uses a bunch of clips from other stuff, and he might be able to get away with it, but I don't think I would be able to get away with it. There's behind-the-scenes YouTube reasons for that. Not particularly interesting TV to talk about, but let me play the Midas Touch clip. Okay, good. Oh, I saw Brian Tyler Cohen talking about this. Thank you for this Midas Touch clip. Stand by. Let me do an intro. Yeah. Mercy me. There we go. Thank you, Wireless Mike, for the suggestion. We've got a clip from the Midas Touch Network. I happen to know the dressing down that's coming. It is one of the finest I have seen within the U.S. government. Somebody lets Marjorie Taylor Greene know exactly who she is. It's long overdue, and I am embarrassed that MTG was put in office in the first place. This is why.
House Resolution 610, censuring Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Give me the whereas.
That's what I like to hear.
Whereas Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly fanned the flames of racism, anti-Semitism, hate speech, Islamophobia, Asian hate, xenophobia, and other forms of hatred.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
Now, is the GOP...
Okay, two things that we need to address right quick. Number one, this also uses rando clips, God damn it. But it's fine. Number two, now I don't wanna seem arrogant here. It's just an observation that I've made. The mustache seems to be getting awful popular. I'm just saying. This year, 2023, seems to be the year of the mustachioed gentleman and lady with excess testosterone. Let us listen to Prince Charming's breakdown.
finally ended their speaker debacle, the House was reopened and swiftly returned to the fear-mongering and hate-spewing that they've missed so much. But I wanted to direct your attention to another hearing on the House floor, one that contains a whole lot more substance and a CBS amount of receipts. This is Vermont Senator Becky Ballant, and she used every single second of her around 10 minutes.
Did I hear Vermont? What's going on with that state? How come you keep sending us rock star senators and you got garbage governors? What's going on, Vermont? You keep voting for the worst presidents but sending us the best senators. What? Explain to me how that happens. Somebody, please.
speech to make the case for censuring MAGA Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene. And listen, you know I wouldn't just lie to you guys. It's worth every minute of your time. So I promise I won't interject as much. I'm just going to watch along with you.
Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly debased the memories of thousands of victims of the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001 by perpetuating conspiracy theories to shift blame and responsibility for mass murder. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly assaulted the foundation of our democracy by perpetuating conspiracy theories related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol, which sought to halt the peaceful transfer of power. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly called for violence against elected officials and their families. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly espoused anti-Semitic rhetoric and conspiracy theories, including through inflammatory evocations of the Holocaust. Whereas on May 20th, 2021, Marjorie Taylor Greene said that the mask mandate in the House of Representatives was akin to Jews being put in trains and taken to gas chambers in Nazi Germany. Whereas on May 25th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted, quote, vaccinated employees get a vaccination logo just like the Nazis forced Jewish people to wear a gold star.
I'm only going to chime in once myself as well. I noticed the other content producers were doing the same thing, just letting her go off, but let's all keep the chain going and mention why we are doing that, because she is totally correct. Everything she says should be taken into consideration. Everything she says is true. Every one of these things should have resulted in her resignation. As soon as it was discovered, she should have resigned in shame. She should have had no choice but to do that. There should have been a referendum if she refused from her district to recall her. Her district should have done it. Her district lives in shame until she is dealt with, until she is recalled and a gigantic sign is put up in front of the house where she once lived, saying, "This is our district's greatest shame." Let's let this gal go off.
Whereas on February 26th, 2022, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene appeared at a white nationalist event that was condemned by the Republican Jewish Coalition as, quote, appalling and outrageous that a member of Congress would share a platform with an individual who has actively spread anti-Semitic bile, mocked the Holocaust, and promoted dangerous anti-Israel conspiracy theories. Whereas on September 1st, 2022, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted a tweet comparing President Joe Biden to Adolf Hitler that said, quote, Joe Biden is Hitler, hashtag Nazi Joe has to go, unquote. Whereas on September 1st, 2022, Marjorie Taylor Greene posted another tweet of a doctored video showing President Biden speaking with audio of Hitler, swastikas in the background, and a mustache akin to that of Hitler. Whereas on July 21st, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said that if she was, quote, in charge, she would kick out every single Chinese in this country that is loyal to the CCP. They would be gone. Whereas on December 19th, 2021, while at a Turning Point USA conference, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene referred to Asian Americans as, quote, yellow people, a slur that has been historically used to malign the Asian American community in the United States. Whereas Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has a history of perpetuating LGBTQ hate speech, including through her use of offensive posters in the halls of congressional office buildings beginning on February 24th, 2021. Whereas on November 22nd, 2022, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted that an LGBTQ California state senator was, quote, a communist groomer, unquote, an offensive slur that has been used to stoke fear and incite hatred of LGBTQ Americans. Whereas on March 7th, 2023, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene again referred to members of the LGBTQ community as, quote, groomers, and spouted anti-trans rhetoric on the floor of the House of Representatives. Whereas on June 1st, 2023, the first day of Pride Month, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted a photo showing an anti-trans poster that she had displayed in the hall outside of her congressional office. Whereas on February 22nd, 2019, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted a video on Facebook claiming that the Muslim American members of Congress were not, quote, really official because they didn't take the oath of office on the Bible. Whereas on June 17th, 2020, Politico reported that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene repeatedly engaged in Islamophobic rhetoric and suggested that Muslim Americans do not belong in the United States government. Whereas on May 10th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene yet again referred to fellow Muslim American members of Congress as, quote, the Jihad Squad. Whereas on June 17th, 2020, Politico reported that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene referred to black Americans as, quote, slaves to the Democratic Party and said that they should be proud to see Confederate monuments. Whereas on June 17th, 2020, Politico further reported that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene stated in a video, quote, I know a ton of white people that are as lazy and sorry and probably worse than black people, unquote. Whereas on January 26, 2021, CNN further reported that Marjorie Taylor Greene liked a Facebook comment on January 2019 that stated, quote, a bullet to the head would be quicker in reference to the removal of Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Whereas on January 26, 2021, CNN also reported that deleted videos showed Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for the execution of Speaker Nancy Pelosi and stating that she was, quote, a traitor to our country, that she's guilty of treason and should suffer death. Whereas on November 10th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene referred to those who participated in the January 6th attack on the Capitol as, quote, political prisoners of war. Whereas members of Congress have promised to always have the back of Marjorie Taylor Greene, no matter the extent of her vile and hateful behavior. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene be censured.
And this is long overdue. My God, it's long overdue. Marjorie Taylor Greene, from the moment she left her basement praising Q.
Following 4chan, Q, any of that stuff. Anybody? Q is a patriot.
For the moment she stepped in the building falsely claiming senators have to swear on a Bible, to harassing school shooting survivors. She's been a stain on the fabric of everything this institution claims to uphold. And the sooner she's voted out, the better our ears will be.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene be censured with the public reading of this resolution.
Hey,
Boom. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a racist. She has no business sharing the air of free peoples. She's a traitor to our country. She deserves to be in prison. You know, there's nothing further to say. Censure her. Here's what to say. It won't do anything. Doesn't mean anything to her, to her followers. It won't make you or I hate her more. It won't make people that were going to vote against her harder. But it's important nonetheless. Everybody who is good and decent must declare so now, on the record, for the benefit of the future generations who will look back and try to make sense out of all this. I'm glad that Vermont senator is painting an accurate picture of who Marjorie Taylor Greene is. I'm glad she summed it up. That she only mentioned what we've confirmed. I would love to see how the Department of Justice decided to spare Marjorie Taylor Greene an investigation because she seems to have had a hand in the on-the-ground movements on January 6th. She belongs in a prison cell, and we should work to put her there. There is a serial killer, believe it or not, that I did a series of reports on back in the day. And the brother of one of his potential victims, who actually saved his sister's life when he was 14 and got stabbed for his efforts. The brother had to come back I believe it was every 5 years, and argue in front of the parole board why this serial killer should not be paroled. It's a long story, and I know you all are a bunch of leftists, and you appreciate detail, and you appreciate certainly nuance in the criminal justice system, but let's skip it because it is a long story, and suffice it to say, it was a mistake of the system that this guy was ever up for parole. I assure you, this person is where he needs to be and should ever be for eternity. He is a proper John Wayne Gacy type. I say this because it sounds, I think, very strange to leftist ears to advocate for imprisonment of anyone, because we have an actual understanding of what kind of experience that is. I say all of this to fully express that I understand what it is I am calling for. I don't ask you to agree with me, but just know that I'm not stuttering. It's not an opinion I arrive at casually that Marjorie Taylor Greene should be in prison. The harm she has caused the world. Hell, she should be in prison still, simply for what she did to David Hogg. David Hogg was a survivor of Stoneman Douglas, one of the many, many school massacres that people just like Marjorie Taylor Greene ensured will keep happening. Maybe your kid's next. And she implied that she had a gun when she walked up to him on the street and harassed him. You see, David Hogg, a brave child, was trying to do something about the school massacres. And Marjorie Taylor Greene tried her damnedest to intimidate him, and she failed. But she should still be in prison for harassing him in the way that she did. She did it for clicks, by the way, for social media views, and it worked. It got her famous, and then she became a representative on the back of that fame for intimidating a child who was a victim of a school massacre. She should be in prison. Now I'm on the record. But a censure is not a bad start. Let's see what you guys think. Bad lefty. I'm trying not to use the C word anymore, but people like Marge make it hard. Well, if you're going to softball it in like that. Look, I think as long as it's consenting, you can use her all you want. Pinkerbell, but you're the one keeping it going, making make like. Oh, I'm sorry. That's out of context. Oh, looks like y'all are working it out. Wanda MV. Unfortunately, I believe she's in a very safe district with no constituents as crazy and bigoted as she is. Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious to know what you guys think. How do we teach morals to these folks? How do we teach genuinely morality to these people with no interest in it? How do we teach empathy? I can tell you what I think their fear is. Here's what I think the fear is of these people that vote for modern Republicans and have always voted Republican, frankly. I think they throw a pebble into a lake on a quiet Sunday morning, and they feel existential dread when they see how quickly the ripples slow and stop and the water becomes still again. I think they fear being forgotten and their moment on earth passing and turning to irrelevance. I think that's what they fear at the end of the day. I notice it's older folks that vote MAGA so often. And the relevance there is that the thing I keep hearing about is we're being replaced. And I would think that would be a younger MAGA concern. Because if you're being replaced by somebody 2 generations down, what the fuck do you care? If you're MAGA, you're selfish. You don't give a fuck about anybody else. So what do you care? Sam Cedar made a point on his show years back, and his co-host dismissed it out of hand, and the audience dismissed it out of hand. And I thought it was, in fact, the very core of the problem. He was talking about how all these complaints about a black James Bond or whatever the thing was, Batman or whatever at the time, came from conservatives getting freaked out that they turn on the TV and see themselves less and less often. I think that's accurate. All this other stuff, this pretending to know about politics, let's be honest, nobody who votes for MAGA actually knows anything about politics. They just don't. They don't know how any of it works. They don't know what the government is for. They don't know what it's supposed to be for. They don't know where it went wrong. They don't know if it is wrong. They literally know nothing. They have been misinformed. That is why they are MAGA voters. But they chose to be misinformed. They're presented all the time. All the time. They are presented with the truth. And you have seen the Jordan Klepper videos just like I have. They turn away from the truth at every opportunity, and we need to answer why. My best bet is the ripples in the water going away. They are, from what I can tell, terrified of not only going away, but of being forgotten. What I would recommend you do is, if you have someone in your life who is using politics to harm other people, don't let them get away with that. Don't let their nonsense political stances, which are going to be the most vile things, go unchallenged. But at the same time, make it very clear that there are aspects about them that you do appreciate. If they are in your life, I'm assuming there are aspects about them that you do appreciate. If there aren't any, why the fuck are you talking to them? Why are they near you? But if it's a father or an uncle or a grandmother or a friend from college or a coworker you have beer with, highlight for them those things about them that have nothing to do with politics that they clearly do not understand. Highlight those things about them that you appreciate, that you will remember, that you will treasure about them. If you would miss them if they went on an extended vacation, tell them what you would miss, so that they don't feel they have to force the world to remember them by destroying it. That is my suggestion. Thank you for the comment. Soul Life, my boss swears he stopped listening to Fox, but the stuff he says... Well, good that he swears he stopped listening to Fox. At least he now knows that's an embarrassing thing to admit you watch. Unfriendly Atheist, I've disowned everyone. Yeah, I don't blame you. Bad Lefty, amen, Jake. Amen. Well, thank you. An actual cloud. I was in 3rd grade when I realized the evil assholes of the world would take over. Oh, God, that has to be a nightmare. Good news is they can't run anything, so they can't hold on to it. It's just we might have to rebuild from the ashes, from the wreckage, I mean. Donald James, my family are... Oh, boy. Donald James X, my family are Jehovah's Witnesses, so I'm cool. Fair enough. I hope you're able to talk to him. Like, you know, I hope I hope you're able to talk to him. Not to convince them of anything, just, you know what I mean. Public utility. Brain are plast... I'm sorry, I can't quite read that. It does seem to make sense, but my brain can't make it make sense right now. Michael Skiles, how do you teach it when they believe they are morally superior? Yeah, you don't bother. If they're giving you pure nonsense, like if they're saying Trump won the election, you say, stop, that's a nonsense opinion. You ought to know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, I'm not going to bother explaining to you how reality works. But that's a silly opinion, and you should be embarrassed that you said it. And let that be awkward. And if they want to yell, say, I'm not interested in talking about this. And move on. Let's say you're baking cookies and they say that. That's a silly ass thing to say. I'll just do you a favor. Let's say it's your aunt. Auntie, I'm going to do you a favor and pretend that you didn't just say that dumb fucking thing that just came out of your mouth. I'm going to do you that favor because I love you dearly. Now, will you please show me how to make these cookies? Because they're delicious the way you make them. I'd like to learn. Show me. No, I just told you. Don't say stupid stuff and expect me to play along. The kind of thing you ask a person with concussion is, who is the president? All right, I'm not going to play with this. Show me how to make the cookies. Come on, let's make some cookies. You redirect. You let them know clearly and painfully, if you must, how foolish they've been. They've just had flatulence of the mouth. Tell them that. But you move on. You move on. And focus on what about them is what has them as part of your life. Why they are in your life. You shouldn't need to, for the record, just so because we are all frustrating lefties and we must be technically correct. You shouldn't have to do this. It's not justice, but it's mercy. Let's tap into that strength of ours and use a little mercy. Tactical mercy. You have to be firm enough. You cannot pretend. You can't let them get that little ping of, I watched this psycho on the internet who told me that frogs are turning airplanes gay or whatever. And so now I know a thing and I'm fascinating to the whole room. No, you can't let them get that ping. You have to, in fact, make them get the other ping, the shock of embarrassment that when they see just how little respect you have for their political opinion, and how it's going to hurt particularly badly, because the great secret of this is they know they don't know anything about any of this. They know they don't know. They really do. And you can know that they know they don't know anything by watching how they avoid answering questions. I'm sorry, Benny. Watch how they avoid answering questions. Well, if they were misinformed only, if they were earnestly misinformed, let's say, they would just answer the question incorrectly, thinking they had the correct answer. But that's not what will happen. They'll avoid answering the question. You'll say, what do you like? What's your favorite policy of Trump? And they'll say, oh, I like all of them. Okay, well, which one specifically? I like the wall. I think the wall's great. Oh, how you think it's great? In how much of it was built that you think it's being effective right now? Oh, if the Democrats would have finished it. But did they? Was there not a Democrat plan to put up, like, you'll see them stretching way back to try to pull something out. Anything that they can think of that was in the news. And it will become clear very quickly that they don't actually know anything. And they know they don't know anything. And they will be incredibly embarrassed to discover that you too know they don't know anything. And it will not be fun for them. They're ruining people's lives right now as a hobby. It's fun for them. But it's also a little thing of security. People will never forget me. How could they forget the person that helped destroy the earth? I'll live on forever. Infamy to them is every bit as good as fame. Well, Snixabia, Jank is a closet Republican. So is Anna. They're so rich, the Republican policies are appealing. Yeah. I agree. I think that's exactly the problem. I've been musing over that when thinking about WYCD. That the downfall of Anna Kasparian is when I lost my taste for trying to grow the channel. Because I'm not in a position where I must or I'll starve. And I would prefer to make... Let me put it like this. I'm not a strong man. So I would prefer to make decent and moral decisions about money before it's on the table. So, because if I see it, I might just be like, fuck this, we're going to Greek Town, baby. But that time's coming. I don't want to wait a full another year, and November and December are going to be the two biggest months for gaining subscribers. Hey, speaking of, I got a piece of media to finish. I'm not going to give you a Midwest goodbye. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Thank you all for joining me on a mildly salty Saturday. But I'm surrounded by snuggling dogs and good friends, so I really can't be all that salty. This has been WYCD Wicked. There it is. It stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake. See you next time.